Hai, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce myself. My name is Ratna Sari with NPM 2011040146. A definition of a topic. A point is the primary getting shorted out guideline of a conversation, either verbal or composed. Points of us and even for talking or composing and a center which administers what you say. They are the topic of our discussions and the routes by which we show up at different topics of discussions. Consider of example a new class conversation. In spite of the fact that still up in the air what theme you examined at first. A few understudies most likely posed inquiries that prompted different subjects. As the topics of our conversations lead to related subjects, so do the themes we expound on lead to related points in our scholastic investigations. In any case, dissimilar to the verbal discussions we have, every individual piece of a composing we, we produce ordinarily centers around a solitary theme. Past journalists discover that when they present a distinct, centered, and created theme, they make a superior showing of holding their perusers' consideration and introducing fitting data than if they had not endeavored to put limits regarding the matter of their composition. How to devise the topic in a sentence or paragraph? Passages and topic sentences. A passage is a progression of sentences that are coordinated and sound and are completely identified with a solitary subject. Pretty much every piece of thinking of you do that is longer than a couple of sentences of to be coordinated into passages. This is on the grounds that sections so per user where the regions of an exposition start and end and along these lines help the per user see the association of paper and handle its primary concerns. Sections can contain various sorts of data section. A section could contain a progression of brief models or a solitary long delineation of an overall point. It may portray a spot character or interaction. Portray is a progression. How to devise the topic in a sentence or paragraph? Passages and topic sentences. A passage is a progression of sentences that are coordinated and sound and are completely identified with a solitary subject. Pretty much of every piece of thinking of you do that is longer than a couple of sentences ought to be coordinated into passages. This is on the grounds that sections show per user where the regions of an exposition start and end. And along these lines, help the per user see the association of the paper and handle its primary concerns. Sections can contain various sorts of data. A section could contain a progression of brief models or a solitary long delineation of an overall point. It may portray a spot character or interaction, portray a progression of occasions, look at or contrast at least two things, characterize things into classification or depict circumstance and results. Despite the short data they contain, all passages share certain attributes. One of the most significant of these is the subject sentence, theme sentence. An efficient passage upholds or fosters a solitary controlling thought which is communicated in a sentence called the point sentence. A point sentence has a few significant capacities. It proves or upholds an article's articulation, It points together the substance of a passage and coordinates the request for the sentences, and it informs the per user with respect to the subject to be talked about and how the section will examine it. Per users, for most part, look to the initial not many sentences in a section to decide the subject and point of view of the passage. That is the reason it's not an expected best to put the subject sentence at the absolute starting point of the passage. At times, be that as it may, it's more viable to put one more sentence before the theme sentence. For instance, a sentence connecting the current passage to the past one, or one giving foundation data. Albeit most passages out to have a theme sentence. There are a couple of circumstances when a section probably won't require a subject sentence. For instance, you could possibly preclude a subject sentence in a section that portrays a progression of occasions. If a passage keeps fostering a thought that you present with a theme sentence in the past passage, or then again, if every one of the if every one of the sentences and subtleties in a section plainly allude, maybe in a roundabout way, to a primary concern. By for most of your sections, in any case, ought of have ought to have a point sentence. Section structure. Most sections in an exposition have a three-section structure: presentation, body, and end. You can see this design in passages whether they are describing, portraying, looking at, differentiating, or dissecting data. Each piece of the passage assumes a significant part in imparting your importance to your per user. Presentation. The principal segment of a passage ought to incorporate the subject sentence and some other sentences toward the start of the section that give foundation data or give a change. Body follows the presentation, talks about the controlling thought, utilizing realities, contentions, investigation, models, and other data. And the last area sums up the associations between the data examined in the body of the passage and the sections controlling thought. The accompanying section represents this example of association. In this section, the theme sentence and finishing up sentence. Capitalist. What says tense, the per user remember the passage, primary concern. Attributes of a strong topic sentence. The subject sentence capacities two different ways. It unmistakably alludes to and upholds the exposition's proposal, and it shows what will continue in the remainder of the section. As the bringing together sentence for the section, it is the most broad sentence, though all supporting sentences give various kinds of more explicit data, like realities, subtleties, and or models. A successful point sentence has the accompanying qualities. A theme sentence has a point and a point removed from preposition sentence. Preposition. Although working for the Public Parks Administration might be considered by some to be a mid-year work vacation, with the public parks over versatility inside the calling, support for keep learning, and fulfillment in realizing that you are adding to the conversation and soundness of the nation's assets. Frame model number one: National parks in the U.S. were made in 1916 under President Woodrow Wilson and at present deal many summer open positions each year. Classification. This sentence sticks with the subject, public parks, yet doesn't over a point removed from the thoughts in the proposal. A paper ought not have subject, sentences, and units of help that are not gotten ready for in the proposition. More grounded model. Workers with the public parks are supported and by and large needed to keep up with current information inside their fields, which is extended through on the employment opportunity preparing. Participation in workshops and educational course help for proper school courses. Clarification. Choose any piece of the point in the theory to make a subject sentence with its own theme and point. Frail model number two. National Parks work has given me many advantages. Clarification. Although the actual theory manages benefits, a subject sentence got from that postulation needs to all the more cautiously remove a particular piece of that proposition and make a point concerning that particular part. More grounded model. Workers with the public parks are energized and, as a rule, needed to keep up with current information inside their fields, which is extended through on the employment opportunity preparing, participation at classes, and educational costs help for suitable school courses. A subject sentence gives a precise sign of what will continue in the remainder of the passage. Feeble model. First, we need the superior method to instruct understudies. Clarification. The case is unclear in light of the fact that it doesn't give us sufficient data regarding what will follow, and it's too expensive to be in any way stored adequately in one passage or short unit of help. More grounded model. Creating a public arrangement of principles for math and English instruction will further develop understudy learning in many states. Clarification. The sentence replaces the unclear expression a superior way and leads per users to expect supporting realities and models concerning why normalizing training in these subjects may further develop understudy learning in many states. A designated sentence is the most broad sentence in the section and hence thus exclude supporting subtleties. Feeble model. Salaries sought to be covered in baseball for some reasons. Above all, so we don't permit a similar group to win a seemingly endless amount of many years. Clarification. The subject sentence incorporates a supporting subtlety that ought to be incorporated later in the passage to back up the primary concern. More grounded model. Introducing a compensation cap would work on the sport of baseball for some reasons. Clarification. This point sentence precludes the extra supporting subtlety with the goal that it very well may be developed later in the section. Yet the sentence actually makes a case about compensation covers improvement of the game. A dozen subject sentence is clear and simple to follow. Frail model. As a rule, composing a paper, proposal, or other scholarly or non-academic archive is significantly simpler and not and of a lot more excellent in the event that you first build a blueprint of which there are There are wide range of types. Clarification. The confounding sentence structure and pointless jargon cover the principal thought, making it hard for the producer to follow the theme sentence. More grounded model. Most types of composing can be improved by making framework clarification. This theme sentence removes pointless verbiage and improves on the past assertion, making it simpler and the per user for the author can incorporate instances of what sorts of composing can profit from illustrating in the supporting sentences. Developing a paragraph from a topic sentence. To foster a passage from a subject sentence, you should simply to ask them sentence inquiries. Then, at that point, you take the responses to these inquiries and work a section out of them. With this strategy, you won't ever experience difficulty occupying space again. You will consistently have a comment. Each subject sentence brings up issues that you anticipate that the paragraph should reply. For instance, in this section, you should presumably anticipate that I should list questions that some point sentences may raise, similar to why, where, when, how much, and particularly for instance. The real inquiries that you pose notwithstanding rely on a subject sentence itself. Paragraph development methods. Example and application. You can utilize various strategies for a section advancement. A new journalist might find that essentially utilizing a framework assists them with bettering improve their passage creation abilities, while others might find that they need to foster subject sentences and models first, get clarification of the term section improvement with clear models. What is passage improvement? Before you plunge into strategies for creating sections, get what a passage is and why have a technique for creating them. Sections are the manner in which you relate or your data to your crowd. Furthermore, each unique section needs to cooperate to make a durable thought or contention. In this way, there are numerous ways you can foster your passages. Nonetheless, all sections need to meet same significant standards, be, be identified with the theory articulation, be lucid, and brought together. Include all around creative considerations. These are the mystical components to making an ideal section for each paper. Passage association, one more significant perspective to consider prior to plunging into your passage improvement strategy is the paper association. Few out of every odd paper or term is made equivalent. Subsequently, how you structure each section changes depend on the kind of exposition or exploration paper you are making. Only a couple of kinds of papers that you're presumably acquainted with include compare and contrast. The paper looks into at least 2 points by introducing thoughts through models in sections. Analysis. The sex information or speculation through models. Process portrays how something functions through advanced description, makes a psychological picture for per users utilizing clear compact composition. Narrative recounts to a story in sequential requests, while there are a wide range of sorts of papers and papers. These are only a couple of the normal ones. Also, the manner in which you form your passage is distinctive for everyone since they have various purposes. Be that as it may, more often than not, passage improvement can follow a couple various techniques. Passage advancement through diagram quite possibly the most well-known approaches to foster your paragraph is through the formation of a diagram. To make layout, you first write down the primary concerns that you wish to talk about in the section first. Focus on a few primary concerns. Second, underneath every primary concern, add a piece of supporting proof from a diary, novel, sonnet, and so on. Third, after the proof, offer the conscious clarification or examination. Commerce passage improvement. Fundamental thought and subject sentences in case diagrams are they actually your thing. You can begin making your passages by narrowing down your fundamental thought and point sentence for each section. The primary thought is the thing that will drive your whole passage. Basically, what's going on with this passage? What is it will do? Fourth, the subject sentence expresses your primary thought and starts your section for the peruser. An illustration of point sentence for a passage investigating canon and fill-in practice resembles this. With regards to padding, canons and fill-ins respond in various ways. Setting up your passage with a strong fundamental thought and point sentence readies your perusers for the help and investigation of your primary thought. Over help and models, the core of the passage is the help and models you give your peruser. These are what drive your primary concern home and show your perusers that you've done your examination on the point. For instance, canines might appreciate delayed padding, yet felines then again may feel worn out on an excess of consideration. For instance, Major Man's part can lay on my lap for quite a long time with me screwing her head. Nonetheless, my Persian feline has a little window of getting a charge out of beating prior to gnawing my hand or fleeing. Investigation of proof. Whenever you've set up your models, it's the ideal opportunity for you to investigate the data that you've accommodated to your per users. Make a reasonable connection between your fundamental thought and the models you've given in your examination. This resembles. As you can see through my models, most candidates appreciate delayed friendship more than feelings. This attempts to show the more friendly and human satisfying nature of canyons. Commercial make clear advantages into the following section, making a solid closing assertion assists with the progressing into the following passage. Toward the finish of one section, propose that there is another thought that piggybacks on top of the one you have talked about, or express that there are some differentiating thoughts in the field. Then at the point, proceed to be expound on them in the following section. For instance, you can likewise see the distinction in friendly practices through the manner in which these two creatures respond to different creatures. This sentence attempts to end the conversation about pairing and continue on the following mark of creature cooperation. Passage advancement model see the finished illustration of the passage into a speak. Inspect how this lot of parts cooperate. With regards to getting canyons and feelings respond in various ways. Canyons might appreciate delayed pairing, yet feelings, then again, may feel seek a lot of consideration. For instance, my German Shepherd can lay on my lap for quite a long time with me scouring her head. Nonetheless, my Persian feline has a little window of appreciating pairing prior to knowing my hand or feeling fleeing. As you can see through my models, most canines appraise the lead friendship more than felines. This attempts to exhibit the more friendly and individual satisfying nature of canines. You can likewise see a distinction in friendly practices through the manner in which these two creatures respond to different creatures. Section improvement technique. Passage concentration. One more space of section improvement. You need to consider its passage center to create a solid section. Significant realities and text-based examination of the data should be applicable to your postulation in exposition on the significance of firearm control, going thinking about something irrelevant with regards to different sorts of weapons could be inconveniently of subject. Subsequently, it's critical for your conversation to remain laser zeroed in the point on the point to you presenting your subject sentence. It ought to stay that way until the following passage is introduced. Utilize fitting language. Utilize fitting language. The language that you use will likewise influence the advancement of the section. Words, for example, great, overall quite terrible are amazingly ambiguous and ought not be utilized in proficient composition. Find more clear words where giving and self-centered, for instance, to supplant these ambiguous words. Moreover, don't utilize confounding words or words that you don't have the vaguest idea about the importance in light of the fact that your absence of understanding will mean the per user. Keeping language guidelines for passage, regardless of whether you have the most coordinated passage on the planet, it won't be viewed as a wrong created if language structure patches are all over.